I thought keeping the truth hidden would protect everyone. I believed silence was the safest choice. But when the secret came out, it didn't just break one life, it shattered every bond I had.
The main character of this story is male. His name is Jonathan Pierce. Jonathan Pierce had always believed that some truths were better left untouched. Not because they were evil, but because revealing them would cause more harm than good. For 7 years, he lived with a secret that shaped every decision he made, even when no one else knew it existed. Jonathan worked as an operations supervisor at Redwood Freight Solutions, a logistics company based in Oregon. His life appeared stable, steady job, respectful colleagues, and a calm home shared with his wife, Melissa Pierce. They weren't perfect, but they were dependable. Or at least, that's what Jonathan told himself. The secret began years earlier, before his promotion, before his marriage felt fragile. Back then, Jonathan had been part of a small internal team responsible for approving emergency shipments. One rushed decision, made under pressure, led to a serious mistake. A shipment was approved without full verification. The error caused a chain reaction, financial loss, internal reshuffling, and the quiet dismissal of an employee named Evan Holloway. Officially, Evan was blamed. Unofficially, Jonathan knew the truth. Jonathan had signed off on incomplete data. Evan had questioned it, but Jonathan overruled him. When the investigation came, Jonathan stayed silent. Evan lost his job. Jonathan kept his future. At the time, Jonathan convinced himself it was survival. He needed the job. He had responsibilities. One mistake shouldn't define a life. He buried the truth and moved on, or so he thought. Years later, Evan Holloway was little more than a shadow in Jonathan's memory. Until one afternoon, when Melissa mentioned a new neighbor she'd met at a community meeting. His name sounded familiar. Evan Holloway. Jonathan felt his chest tighten, but he said nothing. He told himself coincidences happened. Still, over the following weeks, Evan's presence grew impossible to ignore. Jonathan saw him at local events, volunteering, quietly respected. Evan looked older, more reserved, but calm, nothing like the angry man Jonathan expected. What Jonathan didn't expect was how intertwined their lives would become. Melissa, unaware of the past, admired Evan's resilience. She invited him to group gatherings. She spoke about him with respect, even suggesting Jonathan get to know him. Each mention felt like a warning Jonathan refused to hear. The real fracture came when Redwood Freight announced a partnership with a nonprofit focused on employment rehabilitation. Evan was listed as a community advisor. Jonathan's buried secret was moving closer to the surface. At work, rumors circulated about an internal review tied to old shipment approvals. Files from years ago were being reopened. Jonathan felt the ground shifting beneath him. He still said nothing, at home or at work. Melissa noticed the change. Jonathan became withdrawn, defensive. Conversations ended quickly. Trust began to thin. One evening, Melissa confronted him gently. She asked why he seemed afraid. Jonathan almost spoke then. Almost. But fear won. "I'm just tired," he said. The lie cost him everything. The truth came out not through Jonathan, but through Evan. During a public panel hosted by the nonprofit, Evan spoke about accountability. He told a story, not naming names, about losing everything because someone else stayed silent. He spoke without anger, but with clarity that cut deep. Jonathan sat frozen in the audience. After the event, Evan approached Jonathan privately. There was no hostility in his voice. Only certainty. "I know," Evan said quietly. "I always knew." Jonathan felt years of guilt crash down in seconds. Evan explained that internal documents had surfaced long ago. Evan had chosen not to pursue revenge. He rebuilt his life instead. But now, with the review reopening, Evan refused to protect Jonathan anymore. That night, Jonathan told Melissa everything. He expected anger. What he didn't expect was disappointment so deep it felt final. Melissa wasn't upset only because of the past. She was shattered by the years of silence, the way Jonathan had chosen comfort over truth again and again. The review concluded quickly. Jonathan wasn't publicly disgraced, but he was removed from leadership. Trust, once lost, could not be restored quietly. Melissa moved out. Evan didn't celebrate. He didn't gloat. When Jonathan apologized, Evan accepted it, but acceptance didn't mean repair. Months later, Jonathan lived alone, working a lower position, finally honest with himself. He learned that secrets don't stay buried. They wait. And when they rise, they don't just expose the past. They destroy the future built on lies. Moral: silence may protect you temporarily, but truth defines who you become. A secret hidden for years can still shatter lives when it finally surfaces.